can you find your own peace in a situation where you have very little power over how things are going? I think that's an interesting question that I want to dive into today because it comes up a lot. It comes up in my own life, it comes up in coaching, because we're not living just in our own world. We are connected to other human beings, we're connected to systems, and things just don't always go as we like them to go. And there's a lot of stress that comes from that. And it still freaks me out when it happens to me, and I need to take myself back and look at it and figure it out. So I want to talk about my own process, how I try to figure those moments out where you feel like really, really powerless over, for example, things other people do that do affect you, or the system. Like for example, if you're having an agreement with someone and the person is not showing up, or someone is stepping over your boundaries and there's very little you can do because you need to be connected to this person, or you're living in a system that has elements that are pretty toxic and you might be a victim to that and you do not have power over the system. So it is a very complicated, deep, and subtle thing, though there's no one size fits all for this thing. But I have a little bit of a strategy that I use when I'm in these moments, and there are like two things I especially focus on. One is I focus on the tiniest bit of empowerment that I can find for myself in the situation, and I'm going to talk about it more later on in this video. The second thing is that I'm focusing on is my deepest values, and I see it like a pyramid. Like the deepest layer of my values, the one that I really need to hold up for myself in order to feel like me. So I want to make an example. I think I make an example to show you both aspects, like how I dealt with it in a situation where I felt really helpless and powerless. So a few months ago, I was in a situation where I was doing an event with other people that I didn't know very well, and there were very like cliquey boundaries placed from the person who's actually organizing the event, and then there were like this one party and me and another party, and we were supposed to do this together in an agreement. And there were like lots of problems coming up due to interpersonal issues. Most were related to organization and people not showing up to do what they agreed to do. So I found myself in a place where I had a contract and needed to do those things. I had agreed on it. They had my signature, so I had to do it. But I couldn't really do it in a good way because the other people were not showing up to do their share of the work. And I started to feel really irritated and also anxious because I just couldn't figure myself out. I was like really going to this place of they should be doing this, but they are not doing it. And I tried to make them do it, and it didn't work because they were just ignoring me, blaming me, being really shitty. And I got more and more wound up into this, pattern of hyperfixating on needing them to do their part, but it was not happening. And one of the first things I needed to accept for myself is to really go into this place and be like, it is not happening. Like, it doesn't matter if it's wrong. Of course it's wrong. Like, it's shitty and they are really irresponsible. But right now where I am, I do not have a single iota of power to change it, because I don't know, what am I supposed to do? They are grown-ups, I'm grown-ups, they are not holding their agreements, so that's it. And it's a place of frustration, and it does feel helpless first. But then I try to figure out where I would have a little bit of empowerment in this situation. So what can I do? What can I do to make it better? And one thing that I found in this situation that I could do is, so there were a lot of things that were not done, that were not my job. But I had to be honest with myself and be like, I could do them. It would be really stressful for me, and it would be unfair because it's their work and they are getting paid for it. But I could do them. And so I have agency here. Even if it feels really unfair and uncomfortable to be like, I could save the situation if I wanted to. So as I allowed myself to go there, I found a little bit more peace inside of myself to be like, I'm not totally trapped by them. I'm just trapped by my own expectations of them needing to be decent human beings, which is not the case. So I was kind of going back and forth between, yeah, they should do this, but I don't want to do it, and that's too much, and I'm not getting paid for that, and they should. To just relax a little bit into this place of, I have options. I have options, just the tiniest bit of options. Another option would be to really, really accept that this is not going well, and that the event is probably not going to be what it is, what I wanted it to be, and that I'm part of it, and that people might think that I'm the cause of it. So really, really going deep into this place of consequence, being like, okay, I can take their part of the work, which means that the event could probably take place, or I could just hold my position and be like, I'm not doing your job, and live with the consequence that I'm part of this equation, and that people might be upset about the event not taking place or not being good. And I know that's a really uncomfortable place to stand, but it gives you a little bit more of perspective. And those are just two perspectives. There could be lots more. Like, there are so many places from which you can get to a place of empowerment externally. Sometimes it's external, like doing something, and sometimes it's just internally, like accepting something, or shifting your perspective, or just being very clear that this is not your fault. And the second layer that was really important for me in this specific situation, because I was still very upset about them not doing their job, was to really go deep into my deepest layers of my value system. And the way I do it is to really ask myself, who do you want to be in this situation? Like, who do you want to be? Not who can you be, but what kind of person do you want to be? And it became really clear to me that I didn't want to be the revengeful person that is just looking at this agreement thing and letting everything be messed up because of that. And for me, the deepest layer of value that showed up for me in this situation is that I wanted to do this event for the people who showed up for the event, who paid for the event, and that those people were at the core for me. Those people, their experience was so much more important to me than teaching those other people a lesson or shooting them all over the place. I was like, those people, I want them to get the event that I agreed to make. So what do I need to do to make this possible? As much as I can do. Of course, there are always things I cannot do. But I was like, I want to make it possible. And this means that I am willing to do things that are not my not on my agenda, and also I am willing to not go too much into this conflict with this other person because we need to work together on that. I can stand in my clarity and not be such a revengeful, fighty person for the sake of my highest value, which is I want this event to be what I agreed on. And I hope that this makes sense because it is a process and this is just my way. Another person in this situation might have had a completely different view on that. This other person might have been coming from this place of, for me, the deepest value is that I am respected by those other people, and if they don't respect me, I'm willing to let go of the event and take on all the consequences that are coming with that. So it's very individual, but I think it's really helpful to look at those two aspects. Like, on one hand, where can you find the slightest bit of empowerment in the situation? And on the other hand, this idea of who do you want to be in this situation? What kind of human being would you need to be in order to like yourself and be okay with yourself? And that might be a very different answer for you than it is for me. So yeah, that's been my process on that. If you're interested in working through anything that's going on in your life, you can book a coaching with me. The page and everything is in the links, so feel free to look at it and contact me and follow along for more content like that.